Welcome to the 21st century warm-up. This is a great warm-up to include before your workout, whether you are sitting in a car for a long period of time, at a desk, or on a couch. This is going to prepare your body for the most efficient movement possible. So let's get right into this. We're going to start things off by rolling out the feet. I like to use either a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. This should feel uncomfortable but not painful. So the idea here is that we're putting as much weight as we can onto that ball, rolling around slowly, finding those spots that are a bit uncomfortable and just hanging out there. We'll spend about 30 seconds here on each foot. Next, we're going to make our way up to our quads. With this one, I like to start in a plank position, so we're positioned on the elbows. That roller is moving from right above our knee to the top of our hip. Again, moving slowly, big sweeping rolls, looking for those tender spots. You can kind of rotate your thigh as you roll here just to hit all the muscles of the quads. Moving on to the groin or the adductor muscles, I like to position the foam roller perpendicular to my thigh, again rolling from the knee to the hip, nice and slow, finding those spots that are a little tender. Typically right above the knee is where I find is going to be a bit tender, so I'll hang out there for a little bit. Again, we'll go about 20 to 30 seconds on each side. Next, we're going to make our way up to our lat muscles. We're going to start by leaning back on the roller, lifting our hips in the air. From there, we're rolling from around the mid-back right up to behind our armpit. Typically right around the armpit level, it'll be a little tender, so just be aware of that. And if you have to set your hips on the floor for that, that's totally fine. Again, we want this to be uncomfortable, but not painful. And the last muscle group we're going to roll out for this warm-up is our chest muscles. I like to use, again, either a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, depending on your sensitivity to the rolling. With this one, we're just going to sandwich that ball between our chest and the wall, just slowly rolling around. Typically, I find that the upper chest is going to be a bit more tender, so just like all the other muscles, try to hang out in these tender spots for a bit longer. So the first stretch we're going to perform is called a couch stretch. This is going to stretch our quads and our hip flexors. We're going to start by putting either a pillow or some kind of pad underneath our knee. We're going to prop our back foot up onto the bench, driving our knee down towards the floor. From here, the goal is to push our hips back towards our foot. You're already probably going to feel a bit of a stretch there in the front of your hip. We're going to hold this stretch for about 30 seconds on each side. If you need a little more help getting into this position or with balance, you can use a foam roller to do this. Next, we are moving into our 90-90 leans. These are going to stretch our hip rotators. So we're going to get in our 90-90 position, so roughly 90 degrees at both knees, sitting on our butt. We're going to slowly lean towards that front knee, keeping a nice tall spine. Hold for about 2 seconds and then do the opposite. So we're going to lean backwards into that back hip again for about 2 seconds and hold. And we're going to repeat this for about 3 to 4 times on each side. Moving on to our half kneeling rocking calf stretch. With this one, we're going to get in a half kneeling position. We are going to put our hands on the top of our knee. The goal here is to push our knee as far forward as possible while keeping our heel on the floor. And we're just looking for a good calf stretch. This may feel a little bit different than a straight leg calf stretch, so don't expect the same feeling from this one as you would if your leg was straight. Next, we are going into our standing T-spine rotation. We're going to position ourselves on the wall with our outside leg staggered forward. Our hips and our shoulders are glued to the wall. From here, we are going to open up at our upper spine as far as we can without turning our hips, or at least getting as minimal hip turn as possible. Make sure we're getting a big exhale out as we reach those hands out. Moving back down to the floor, we're going to grab our foam roller. We're going to move into a foam roller lat stretch. So this is going to stretch those big muscles on the side of our back here. We are going to position those hands on the foam roller. We're going to reach forward as far as possible, thinking about bringing our forehead down towards the floor and exhaling as we roll those hands forward. Moving into bird dogs, we are going to position ourselves in the quadruped position or just on all fours. From here, we're going to think about straightening out our opposite arm and our opposite leg at the same time, trying to get as minimal movement in our low back as possible. Really think about driving that heel straight back to the wall while that glute is being squeezed. We're going to perform 8 on one side and then 8 on the other side. Finishing up our warm-up here with lateral lunges, we're going to start by stepping out to the side. From here, with our weight on our heel, we're going to push our butt as far back as possible with minimal forward lean or just maybe a little bit of forward lean, and trying to keep or attempting to keep our back leg as straight as possible. From there, you're just going to push back up to the starting position.